Hey, hello everyone. Welcome to this second stream in the Race to Stake campaign. First thing first, audio check. If someone can let me know if you can hear me, I will be able to continue much more in confidence. Yeah, it's working. So, yeah, big day. Happy St. Patrick's, everyone. We got huge news today. We have huge news to talk today. Yeah, you know what it is. You know what it is. So, yeah, Witnet is now set to activate this Friday, March 21st, because we crossed this 300 million with staking threshold, thanks to our amazing community. And now the proof of stake transition is locked in. There's a 1 week delay that's made by design so that we can react and be vigilant during this phase, and also to make sure that everything is prepared, all the tooling, all the wallets and everything is prepared for the full activation of Witnet. What does this activation actually mean? Actually, that means that the protocol is changing from the original consensus protocol that was outlined in the white paper to proper proof of stake. It means also that we are reducing the block time down from 45 seconds to 20 seconds, and that inflation is going down from 14–15% that we have right now to as low as 6.6%. Those are all great news. You see that the total stake has been growing steadily since we enabled staking in the intermediary 1.8 protocol that was activated on February 18. And yeah, it's been growing since then, and we reached the goal of the 300 million WIT on last Friday. That's why the eventual final activation will take place next Friday. The numbers right now are looking like this. Essentially, there's a total stake of 315 million that will give us an initial APY of around 25%, and you can actually calculate your own APY by going to staking.witnet.io. You have the QR code as well there. You can go to the website, and you have all the different stakers, all the different stakes, lots of information to analyze there, and also you can calculate your own APY and have some expectations on the rewards that you will start to receive as a validator starting next Friday. So what's next? What's next for Witnet? Okay, in the last live stream and in the last community chat, community call, and most recently on Medium posts and so on, we were explaining this roadmap where the rollout of proof of stake and all the other Witnet upgrades is being divided. It's being shipped in 2 different installments, Witnet and Witnet 1. And this is just the beginning. This is actually just the beginning. What we are trying to do now is first let's ship 2.1, which is within the original scope of the Witnet. It's more of a follow-up to the strongest points of Witnet. So with Witnet 1, which is already in development, and we plan to start the testing later in April. The biggest upgrade is of course delegated staking. Right now, staking requires running a validator node, which, as we explained before, it's that's deliberately made like that because it's helping ensure a smooth transition from the old consensus protocol to full proof of stake. But let's be honest, not everyone has the time or the expertise to run a node, so that's quite a barrier to entry. With delegated staking, this will completely change, because anyone holding WIT will be able to stake and to participate, earning rewards without having to operate their own infrastructure. This is a true game changer. It means that more users are going to be receiving rewards and growing the community. It means that we will have a bigger and more decentralized validator network, and also that there will be potentially more WIT staked, and that means potentially less circulating supply, which reinforces the network long-term sustainability, right? Then there are other aspects to WIT 2.1. The other main one being the stronger security. You know that when you are talking the chain that is focused on the Oracle use case, like Witnet is itself, security is everything, because it boils down to data integrity and making sure that the data that we are relying to smart contracts is not tampered with. And you know that Witnet has already had this one-of-a-kind multi-party computation system based on crowd attestation of the data sources. So even if nodes fail or they act maliciously, the network remains strong. But WIT2 is taking security even farther by introducing more strict forms of slashing to ensure that any malicious or any underperforming validators get penalized faster. Also, the network, with this, we expect the network to remain highly reliable as it scales over time, and most importantly, this ensures that we can serve bigger projects with bigger total value locked, with bigger TVL that can trust Witnet even more. So this means that we are building a more resilient, more trusted, and economically sound Witnet Oracle. Beyond that, we expect to see some refinements of the proof of stake dynamics once we have seen how they are working in production, and also we are working on having better development tooling for smart contract developers to be able to create their data requests, interact with price feeds, interact with randomness source, and also for anyone to be able to interact with the Witnet Oracle with more refined and more user-friendly tooling. More on this in the coming community calls and in the coming days, because there's a lot of interesting things that we are building and that will be announced soon to that respect. So after WIT 2.1, actually what we are trying to do is, instead of waiting months for between major upgrades, we're moving to a more regular and more agile release cycle. And this, we believe, that will help us react quickly to any shift in the trends that we see in the Web3 space, which is a space that moves so quickly. That will allow us to refine the proof of stake mechanism based on the actual usage that we see in the network and on the actual stakes and how that evolves over time. And also will help us improve the performance of the Oracle and its scalability for bigger integrations. That means that with 2.2, 2.3 and beyond, will be rolling out on a more predictable basis, ideally quarterly, with bigger, with the smaller, more compact and more easy to ship upgrades. Of course, the exact dates for these releases will largely depend on what we learn from WIT 2 and 2.1 being in production, but the goal is to have those faster, high-impact improvements. So what's coming next in Witnet 2.2 and beyond? What's coming during this year for Witnet. So basically, as we learn about how Witnet proof of stake works, we will be refining it, we will be adjusting parameters, we will be most probably adding staking and staking queues, which is something that was left in the back burner for the MVP, let's say. Then we are working on simplifying the Oracle SLAs, the server's level agreement for the Oracle queries, so that we want to make fees and the security guarantees that they give you more easier to understand and to reason about for developers. Then we are also working on better chain space pricing, namely on how requesters pay for the space that the results of the data request take. So a new pricing model taking that into account is being worked on, and that's going to improve the efficiency of the bridges that connect with Oracle with EVMs, with the 50 plus EVMs we are integrated with, and also will create new rewards, new opportunity to get the rewards for node operators. Then we are also working to delve deeper into cross-chain support, in the sense of that Witnet already provides the ability to create cross-chain data requests to some degree, but because this cross-chain trend has been growing over the last year, we know for certain that the design of the protocol itself puts us in a very good position to also enter the market, let's say, of the interoperability or cross-chain operations protocols, and that's and we are very confident that Witnet is going to very easily become a key player there. Then another thing that is on the table is the reusable Oracle queries, basically that will allow us to reduce the cost of operating price feeds and the cost for projects to send queries to with Oracle, by allowing them to reuse existing Oracle requests and just specify a new SLA for them, but without having to deploy the specification of the Oracle query as a whole again every time they want to instantiate it. And then we have another very interesting proposal for transaction deadlines, which should help a lot with giving a better UX for Witnet wallets by preventing any unconfirmed low fee paying transaction to remain in the mempool forever. Then there are other proposals that have been around for a while, and that we are really looking forward to resume working on, which is the scripting or the conditional payments, which were actually introduced in the white paper, and many other improvements that you will learn about very, very soon. So the next question is obviously, is the race to stake done? Are we done with it? Actually not. The race to stake is going to continue. We will be running more of these live streams and more of many other pieces to continue covering what's the progress with proof of stake and with the progress of the protocol and the ecosystem. You can also expect more AMAs, more interviews, more highlights from our ecosystem partners and so on. And that's actually, I think, that leads to the next point in today's agenda, which is something that we consider very important in this stage, because we have a number of projects and protocols that are using Witnet in production, that have been using and trusting with Oracle for their Oracle needs. And sometimes I think we haven't showcased enough those. And today I'm very happy to have here somebody from one of our most interesting integrations. So let me prepare everything, and we should be with him in a minute. I'm going to go to the BRB screen and just give me a few seconds. Hey. So we are going with the interview in just a few seconds, okay?
Brandon, you're muted.
Okay, so here with me I have Brendan from PoolTogether. He's the co-founder of PoolTogether. He also acts as the CTO of PoolTogether, I think. And yeah, first things first, Brendan, I would really love if you could introduce yourself, if you give the audience a glimpse of what's PoolTogether and what sets it apart from any other protocols out there in Web3 and the DeFi space.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. It's good to connect with the Witnet community. I mean, we've been in such close partnership for what seems like a year and a half now, approximately, perhaps a little longer than that. And so it's really nice to be able to come on and talk about PoolTogether. So my name is Brendan. I'm one of the original co-founders of PoolTogether back when we had the PoolTogether Inc. startup, and we created this protocol about 6 years ago, 6 years in April. So in 1 month, it'll be our 6-year anniversary, which is kind of insane for this space. And we've gone through 5 different iterations over those 6 years. And version 5 is the most recent iteration. And we released it about a year ago. And it is what we believe to be the ultimate immutable autonomous protocol, like Uniswap, that we can just launch and run. And what the protocol does, it's a prize savings protocol. And so that means you can deposit funds, the funds accrue interest, and then we award the interest as prizes randomly, for which we use Witnet as an RNG source to actually release these funds in random fun prize amounts. And at the core conceit is that we want to help people save money, and that's why we have a lot of USD, why we have a lot of stables, in our protocol. We support those as well as ETH, because that's what helps people save. And the prizes are like a really fun incentives that everyone can gather around and be like, hey, okay, who got what prize today? In fact, one of our users, Marigo, got what I believe is the second largest prize just a couple days ago, $3,500 in USD and ETH. So that was pretty exciting. That was pretty cool. And everyone's like, yeah. So that's exactly the kind of vibe we're going for, is making it fun to save money. And the protocol is totally autonomous, totally permissionless. So there is no controller, there's no admin, it's not upgradable. And so the cool thing about that is we're actually able to launch it on chains as quickly as we want, as quickly as we can, because there's no kind of deeper dependency beyond having a yield source and Witnet as an RNG. And Witnet, you guys have been very amenable to deploying to all sorts of chains. I mean, you guys are on dozens of chains as it is. We're on 6 chains right now. And so, yeah, it's been really helpful for us to be able to roll out quickly wherever we want so that we can start scaling as soon as we can. And what's great is we're launching on World Chain pretty soon, along with yourselves, of course, because we depend on you guys. And that's going to be really exciting because it is a whole new demographic of user that we'll be able to reach. Okay. And previously, it's been a lot of, let's say, crypto natives that generally expect high risk, high reward. And so I'm very, very curious to see what kind of traction we get without additional incentives for everyday users that just want to save their money, save their world coins. So it's going to be a very exciting launch for us. We're going through the final stages right now of kind of preparing for it. And we should be in the next week or so. So yeah, so great to talk about that.
Yeah.
As well talk about Witnet. And thanks again for having me on.
That's exciting, because Witnet is transitioning to proof of stake, and today's session is very focused on staking. And although I know that PoolTogether itself, from the user's perspective, is not about the staking per se, but there's this depositing and saving aspects that has dynamics that relate with the staking, actually, right? So I wanted to ask, how does the depositing and the saving works, and what's the difference with the staking?
Yeah, for sure. And just to echo what you said, staking is a crypto native word. When you say staking to any normie, anyone outside of crypto, they're like, "What are you talking about?" Because they imagine you shoving a stake in the ground. Deposit. I mean, it's a deposit, and I guess I don't know why we've adopted the staking language necessarily, but you deposit and withdraw your funds. So it's a much more, I guess, normie accessible word. But yes, you're right in that essentially everyone is staking in PoolTogether, whether it's in the the prize vaults or in the pool vault. Well, actually, which is also a prize vault. But yeah, in terms of our mechanics, I mean, it's very similar to staking, except the rewards are random. The rewards are we actually have each day hundreds of small prizes that everybody's winning a little something, but then you have the chance to win like the big prizes in the pot, and that's what's exciting. That's what people come into the Discord and kind of chat about, get excited about, think about, when's the next one going to happen? When was the last one? And start to think about, okay, let's see, what will be the odds of it happening in the next month or so, kind of thing. But at the same time, we also, in addition to the small prizes, we do want to reward users of PoolTogether without the chance. We want to give them ownership, like guaranteed ownership of the protocol. And so for all deposits into PoolTogether, we give them the pool token in return. So pool token sort of serves as like a base APR, and it is essentially ownership of the protocol. And previously, actually for years, it was a governance token, because we have an on-chain treasury, and the original contracts essentially had an administrator, which was governance, so that governance can enact votes and run proposals that would change parameters like number of prizes and things like that. Now that it's fully automated, we've removed the need for governance, which is great. It means we can fire out to all these different chains, or rather deploy to all these different chains, and it just runs. It just works. So what we've done instead is we made it so that the pool token can be staked, and you stake the pool token to increase your chances of winning prizes. But what's really cool about it, and what we haven't really communicated very well, I'll be honest, we have to update the documentation, like a lot of projects, it just kind of falls by the wayside. But I did see that question about the white paper, and that's always classic. Can you go back and edit the white? It's like, oh man, okay, I'll do that work. But what you do is you stake your pool token. It has a chance of winning, but that chance is funded by a percentage of all yield passing through the system. And so what's really cool about that is that as the TVL of the entire system rises, the pool staking vault's chance will increase as well, because it's proportional to the total TVL. So it's very different from the other vaults, whose chance of winning is proportional to the TVL and APR of what that vault is generating. So that's kind of a cool mechanic. We need to clarify it a bit further in documentation so people can understand it. I don't think we've communicated it very well. It's also because we kind of have gone through so many different phases of PoolTogether. We've evolved it so many times that I feel like people don't necessarily have a clear understanding of how exactly it works. But yeah, that's sort of how we are staking. And what's cool is there's this pool token. Because we want everybody to own it, we want to decentralize the ownership of it. We are going to be doing a big pool distribution over the next few years, but we're going to do it in a permissionless way. This is something I'm really excited about. We just rolled this out last week, which is that permissionless in the sense that anyone can add new assets and vaults to the system. So let's say we wanted to support wrapped Bitcoin using Aave or something like that. Anyone can go and spin up a new prize vault with that underlying yield source, and it will have a chance at the same prize as everybody else, and it will receive pool tokens. And so how that works is that both the chance and pool tokens are proportional to the amount of prizes that it contributes to the prize pool. So there's a single prize pool on each chain, and that's where all the, in most cases, ether goes for people to win. And so what's cool about that is all these different vaults that support all these different assets like USDC, USDT, wrapped Bitcoin, ETH, all this different stuff. All of them are liquidating the yield that has accrued for ETH and all contributing it into the same prize pool. And so that gives us a way to fully normalize all the contributions. We know exactly relative to each other how much everybody's contributed, such that we can distribute a token to them equitably. And so now we have the system where we can just dump pool tokens into it on each chain, and it will know exactly how to meter out fairly to each vault. And anybody can add an infinite number of vaults if they want to over the next 4 years or whatever the time frame is for the incentives. And so we're really excited about this because we found in the past that there's always new assets. I mean, USDC is a mainstay for sure, but we've seen quite a bit of engagement with non-stable assets as well. And of course, those are can come and go. They might have a kind of moment in the spotlight and then peter out. And so being able to support assets like that kind of on the fly and doing so without requiring some giant governance proposal and political process means that we can just start throwing up vaults as soon as we see this new asset. And that's really exciting, especially because they'll be eligible for Pool. So no matter what vault you're in, you'll be earning ownership in PoolTogether. So that's a bit of kind of how I see staking with respect to PoolTogether.
Yeah, that's super interesting because, you know, in DeFi is very broad. There are many different types of products out there, and the PoolTogether model is very unique, I think, in its approach. But maybe that approach is not that prominent. Let's say, like most people know about automated market makers, about swappers, lending protocols, but you know, all that kind of DeFi stuff, but maybe the idea of price-linked savings is still a bit alien to some part of the public. So when you're trying to get people to participate in those price pools, that like what would you say that are the incentives for somebody, a potential user, to engage with a protocol like PoolTogether instead of just staking the same ETH or participating in liquid staking, re-staking, whatever?
It depends what you want, and it depends how size is your size. Like if you have, say, $1 million, you're gonna stake that because your interest, your APR in that is going to be significant. If you have, say, $100, do you want to stake it for, you know, what might be a couple bucks a year, or do you want to have a chance to win $50,000 worth of ETH? That's the value proposition. It's more for people who just want a chance to win a big amount using a small amount of money. And in the real world, premium bonds work the same way. One of the biggest ones in the States is actually run by Walmart because Walmart found in a research study that the vast majority of its customers had less than $500 in savings. And yet these customers were buying like lottery tickets and things that were just totally foolish in terms of spending. And so if you can instead have people sort of buy a lottery ticket, even though that's a totally not the right word to describe this, because it's like prize savings, you can withdraw at any time, then you can encourage people to save. And so that's why Walmart spun up its own premium bonds program. Actually, they don't call it premium bonds. I think they call it like a no-loss lottery. The UK calls it premium bonds. And they also limit deposits, but their deposit limit is like $50,000. It's much, much higher than you'd imagine. So yeah, so in that way, that's the value proposition. It's for people that just have a couple of bucks and they want a chance to win big. That's the idea here. It's not like this is not an investment vehicle for institutions or anything like that. So that's kind of our target market. And that's why the world rollout is so exciting for us, because a lot of these people have like, you know, $10 or I guess $10 in world coin. So they don't have giant sums of money. They just want to play with these different protocols and have some fun. And so this is where I think we're going to have great traction, and very excited about it.
Yeah, gotcha. So going back to staking, let's say, I can kind of identify like a second intersection between the staking and PoolTogether, which is more on the backend side, and it has a lot to do with Witnet. Actually, I know that PoolTogether itself as a protocol, it is agnostic to the source of yield, let's say, and as far as I can understand, it can be plugged into different DeFi protocols like Aave or any others, and distribute the yield to the depositors in the form of prices, right? And at some point, somebody from our community, Dr. CPU, he actually created a staked ETH pool using PoolTogether version 3, if I'm not mistaken, and this was also like a first showcase of Witnet being integrated and used within the PoolTogether ecosystem as a source of randomness for rewarding the prices. So my question is twofold, let's say. First is, what do you think are the advantages of tapping into the native staking of the chain in which you're running versus tapping into a DeFi protocol built on top of that? And two, whether that's a pattern that you think that we will see more and more, taking into account that staking Ether is something that exists only recently when it comes to the whole history of PoolTogether.
Well, that's a great question. And perhaps we haven't explored that as much because L2s right now don't have that. They don't have their kind of a native token which you stake to receive rewards. Arbitrum is looking at changing that. And so it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Arbitrum, because they're going through a governance process now to do airdrops and staking rewards, among other things. And so that'll be very interesting when they do launch that, because ideally they'll launch it with a compatible interface to what we need to as a kind of yield source interface. Otherwise, we can just spin up a wrapper that wraps whatever it is. ETH makes sense. ETH is good out of the gate, except you have to keep in mind that you still need protocols. We use staked ETH through Lido and through Rocket Pool because they're the ones that allow it to be liquid staking. Because otherwise, it'd be a very complex mechanism to try to support the native staking with PoolTogether. It's much easier for us to use protocol that has already allowed people to pool, like you were talking about with the delegated, but to pool their staking and to receive rewards, even though they're not actually running a validator. They're participating in a validator pool. So in a way, yes, we're using staked ETH, but we are still using a protocol that has allowed people to pool their staked ETH, or pool their ETH to stake together on a shared set of validators. So yeah, protocols aren't going away anytime soon. I think it'd be interesting if the chain did have native support for people to pool their tokens and stake them for the security of the network. But I guess it's just not relevant to us at the moment. We'll see what happens with the L2s in terms of sequencer fees being shared among like our token holders, or whatever happens. But yeah, for the focus, the time being is on protocols like lending protocols that produce yield through the act of lending. So I don't know if that answers your question or if that's really what you're looking for.
Completely. Yeah, that made it crystal clear. So I was thinking, because you mentioned before that PoolTogether and price pools are in some way all about user incentives, and to some degree they have a lot of gamification and they are a lot about the fun of it. You know that we are making this effort with the Race to Stake campaign in Witnet to increase the participation from our community. Do you have any suggestions on how to strengthen that gamification part, or maybe any insights on what have been some strategies that have helped PoolTogether grow a very engaged community like the one you have right now?
Well, I think the answer is actually simpler than you might think. And somewhere that I think something that we have done well at times and could be a lot better right now is surfacing the game in a much more engaging way. And what I mean by that is like showcasing the kind of the timer, just countdown in the UI, surfacing the prize claims in the UI, so people are like, okay, great, I get to see all my prize that I'm claiming. Things like showing the a base APR for a prize vault, showing the prize APR, estimated prize APR. People like, there's, with so many of these protocols, so much is going on behind the scenes that isn't surfaced in UIs that well. The dApps that do surface that information very well tend to slay. They tend to do very well because people see what they're getting, or at least they think they see what they're getting. Back with the old, food protocols, I guess the APRs are pretty ridiculous. So I don't know if any of those are believable necessarily. But if you are surfacing truth and doing so in a fun way, then I think that's really powerful. And so I think my inclination, just based on my experience, would be to say, yes, you do need some fundamentally good mechanisms, but it sounds like you guys are working on that. You also have strong branding with a race to stake. That's fun. I would say that surfacing that in the UI very well, making it very slick interface, very easy to deposit, you see what you're getting. People love to see what they're getting. There's nothing worse than when you come to a website and it's like, oh, would you like to try this service? Then why don't you book a call with us? I'm like, no, I just want to sign up. Just let me access the thing, whatever it is. Yeah. So in that same way, people want to see what they're getting. They just want to be able to self-serve and go and access the UI. I honestly think that's something we can do better. I think we have such a cool protocol, and there's more we could surface, but it is also very complicated to do so in a way that's also simple to the user, and it's just a very complicated problem to be able to introduce people to a protocol and make them excited about it, but in a way that's simple and tractable. So I would say that would be I think the biggest lever that you could pull, perhaps the hardest one as well, but it's in that kind of communication in the UI and the call to action to engage them.
Yeah, it's quite a challenge. So at this point, it's no secret that PoolTogether and Witnet, we have been working side by side for a while. As you mentioned, like a year and a half, something like that. And we're constantly looking forward to explore new ways in which we can collaborate. So could you describe what's the current use that PoolTogether is making of the Witnet Oracle? How's your experience with that, and how do you see that evolving?
Yeah, absolutely. So PoolTogether has daily prize draws across 5 different chains, and then it has a monthly draw on Ethereum, because of course Ethereum has these crazy gas prices. And because the draw is funded by the yield itself, we need enough time for the yield accrued to pay those expensive gas prices. Anyway, long story short, L2s are cheap. L2s are awesome. We're basically entirely on L2s these days. So that daily draw, we run this auction to trigger a Witnet RNG request that goes and requests a random number from Witnet, which is the RANDAO, produce the RANDAO on the Witnet chain, which then is bridged by the Witnet team to a smart contract, which we then consume. And we pay for that bridge, we pay for the gas of that. That's kind of like the fee, you pay in ETH. So it is convenient that our prizes are in ETH because we just pay out of the prize pool. And we do that once per day across 5 different chains. And it's been great. It's been really easy to use. We've been very happy with the performance of Witnet. There's that one hiccup in the upgrade, but you guys fixed that within hours, which was great. I'm excited to see the evolution. I think the proof of stake is an interesting evolution for the chain itself. It should allow you guys to scale in a way that doesn't require as much energy, requires big computers. That's kind of the interesting thing about proof of stake. It's like, I feel like it's just a natural evolution a lot of the time because you need to kind of bootstrap the value of the coin itself. And once the coin has value, now you can actually have proof of stake, because otherwise there's nothing to stake. So it's kind of a natural second step. But yeah, in our use of Witnet, I'd love to just see us setting up new prize pools across these new chains, continue to use the RNG source, I think we could even experiment with more frequent prizes, perhaps like 4 prizes a day kind of thing. People are pretty happy with daily, but there's always room for experimentation. That's kind of just the nature of the business. I think the evolution that I think would be interesting to see from Witnet, and this is something we talked about, I think like a year ago, is a way to allow anyone to publicly verify the bridged RNG result from the Witnet chain, like perhaps using threshold signatures or something like that. You could allow the validators to also like do some verification there. That'd be like an extra layer of security. And I know you guys are working on that, or at least that's on the roadmap from what I understand. So that's something that I'm excited to see more about.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah, more than anything, just continued rollout across chains. Yeah, exactly. Decentralized bridge. I think. Oh no, actually, I don't think anyone could see that. But yeah, decentralized bridge. Somebody said in the other chat. Yeah, I'd just like to see more rollout across chains. I think we're going to have a multi-chain future. I think we've seen more than ever how multiple chains are necessary. And it's funny how some people in the ETH community are lamenting it and saying that ETH has failed as a consequence. But I think it's just how things were going to be inevitably. Everybody wants to customize their blockchain, have different integrations. World Chain has something called Proof of Humanity, where they've embedded their kind of checks of their eyeball scans, albeit, to make sure that an address is a human. And now they can actually prove that on chain, which opens up all these new kind of interesting features. And so I think L2s and the profligate L2s that is the future. And I think ETH will be successful for that. What ETH needs to do, though, is make interop a huge priority and make sure that all of these chains can interop with the security of Ethereum. If they have that, I think then the value prop is much stronger than just data availability. Anyway, I realize I'm going on a tangent. Let's bring it back.
No, completely.
Lots of RNG, lots of chains.
That was exactly the next topic I wanted to ask you about, because the multi-chain approach has always been like baked into the design of Witnet as an oracle. It's something that's been there since the white paper, so 2017, and we do believe that if we are able to capture a fair share of the oracle use cases on the 50 plus chains that we are integrated with, and we are able to drive some of that value towards our own ecosystem, Witnet itself can become just as valuable as some of those chains, or if not more. That's why we've always been so bullish on the multi-chain narrative. So from the point of view of PoolTogether, I think you're on say with the V5, you're on 6 mainnets, 11 chains in total. So that was exactly my question. Like, what's your strategy, your multi-chain strategy? How do you prioritize one chain over another? How do you see that trend evolving over time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just think we need to continue launching, and that's why making this thing autonomous was so important, because that means anyone can go and launch this thing, launch PoolTogether on new chains. So that's something that I think some projects have done very well. There's, oh man, the name of the project escapes me. There was a permissionless lending market whose name escapes me, but they baked it into the license, the software license, such that anyone can come and take this code and deploy it to a new chain, as long as certain parameters were respected, like tying in the whatever their token was. Man, I forgot the name. Sorry, but I thought that was very interesting. And what we've done is everything we've done is MIT, so we're just sort of like, hey, it's free for all. But instead, it's more of a social layer where we've decided, okay, is this a canonical deployment? Because it has the parameters we want. And so I think it'll be interesting to see how that experiment plays out. The tough thing is, though, is at the end of the day, the devs, like the ones that are dialed in and know the code and are, super expert, they're kind of already part of the team. Like, we've rolled all those people in, so we kind of just do it ourselves anyway. Like, I run G9 Software, which is a dev shop that services the PoolTogether DAO. And so we've been doing all the deployments because we can bang it out because we know it so well. It's kind of more efficient for that reason. But at the end of the day, anyone could deploy PoolTogether to new chains. And so I'd like to see PoolTogether profligate across all these different chains. We do prioritize them based on, I think, essentially two things at the end of the day. One, incentives. Is the chain going to supply incentives, or protocol going to supply incentives? And two, what's the engineering cost? Like, is it easy for us to launch over there? Because, you know, you don't want to be customizing too much for any particular chain. You do just want to be able to roll out and just leverage all the tech that we built previously, because we've literally put millions into auditing, like insane amounts of money. And so when somebody comes to us, be like, hey, you're going to roll out on Solana? I'm like, no, not anytime soon. And it's not that I don't like Solana, it's that, you know, the costs to re-engineer everything and audit it are astronomical, and the risk just isn't worth it unless they pay for it, basically. In which case it'd just be a separate company. So yeah, I'd say that those are the two big factors: incentives and, you know, ROI on the engineering costs for chain selection.
Yeah, completely. That's something that we always explain about the multi-chain approach to the Witnet Oracle, where we can actually let the users know that beyond the fact of saving in not having to integrate multiple oracles as they grow onto other chains, they can reuse the same integration. They actually can reuse the same audit, which adds up to the total cost of deploying on a new chain, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
In any case, you can rest assured that we will be more than happy to serve PoolTogether in any other chains that you might deploy in the future. And as a matter of fact, I know that a couple more integrations are in the making, right?
Yes, absolutely. Very excited about those. Yeah, World is the first, or the next one. We're very excited about that. Obviously, I went through that earlier in the call. And we are looking to ZK Sync as well. The ZK Sync tech is very interesting. In particular, actually on the same related note to what you're saying about reusing, ZK Sync is pushing an elastic chain narrative, which is the same as the superchain narrative, and which is similar to what is Arbitrum orbits, I think they're calling them. But basically, they're taking their tech and just licensing it. So there's going to be a ton of these ZK Sync chains. You know, Xerion is doing Zero, and there's going to be a ton of these super chains like Optimism chains. And so compatibility with this tech means that you can then just roll out across all these other chains that are leveraging basically forks of that chain, you know, but all kind of rooted to the super chain or elastic chain or orbits or what have you. So yeah, we're excited about ZK Sync because it's cool tech, and it's kind of neat that, like, unlike, you know, these optimistic rollups where it takes 7 days to bridge the assets back to Ethereum, on ZK Sync it's like hours. So it's much more feasible to use the native bridge versus the kind of any layer on top. Like, although we are very happy with the cross. Actually, quick cross plug. They've been amazing in terms of integrating Pool across these different chains as well. And they're another important piece of the multi-chain effort. In particular, with respect to our token. So the Pool token is bridged to all these different L2s through the kind of the canonical token bridge that's rolled out by the actual chain team. But in terms of facilitating liquidity and moving tokens across these different chains, a cross serves as that bridge layer that moves these tokens. So that's what allows us. That's the kind of only, I guess, other dependency we have on these different chains is the having the Pool token there and make it easy for people to bridge their Pool token over to these new chains. And so Across has been pretty great for that. So just quick Across plug. Yeah, anyway, new chains. It'll be great. ZK Sync, World Chain.
Yeah. ZK Sync in particular, it's a bit challenging, you know, because they have different set of opcodes. Sometimes they have some particularities there that we have been aware of since we first integrated on ZK Sync. And it has required special effort to adapt our contracts, and actually has helped us a lot to abstract away a lot of things so that we could separate the parts that were like the behavior that was common to all of the EVMs and the one that was specific to this chain, and that has put us in a better position to onboard newer chains that may have more and more differences than your typical EVM, which is normally like all of these L2s that are based on optimism or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm. Good. That's good to hear.
So we have the possibility for the audience to post some questions. I'm showing right now on the live stream a QR code that they can scan if they want to place any questions, or they can go directly to slido.com and they can type the room code that they see here. And let's see if they have any questions. We will be prioritizing the ones that are about PoolTogether, about everything that we discussed right now, and the rest of them we will leave them for after the demo, because we want to let Brendan continue with his life. So let's see if there are any questions here.
My work is going to be easy here. Look at that.
Yeah, I should have brought the QR code before. Yeah, let's see if we have any questions, or we can move on. Okay, I think we have some questions on the YouTube chat. Yeah, directly. Okay, starting with. Yeah. Would you like to consider updating old white paper? Yeah, you mentioned before, Brendan, that it's documentation is always a rolling effort, and one that we never pay enough attention to. And in our case, yeah, the white paper was published in 2017, and yeah, there have been a number of upgrades to the protocol, and the protocol has been evolving, and there are some major differences. In a sense, everything that was proposed and laid out in the white paper is still true, but there are many interesting and technical stuff and many takeaways that we have learned during these 8 years that will probably justify having a new white paper very soon. Yeah, that's something that we are really looking forward to. How do you go about that in the PoolTogether side?
Well, yeah, that's funny. We've never had a white paper. We, since the beginning, have just had documentation like a Git book that goes through and just kind of talks about it from a user point of view. And we shipped because, back when we were first starting, it was too difficult to say, to be so specific and prescriptive and upfront and having a white paper, because it wasn't an active academia. It was an active, productizing a protocol. And so it was more about iterating on an idea and shipping and keeping the documentation live, so that if people wanted to did read about how it works, they could go do so. So yeah, I guess it depends on the projects. Every project's kind of different. Some do really like the white paper because there was a lot of planning up front. They have a sort of hypothesis of how it works. But until the rubber meets the road, I don't think you actually know how it's going to work, the protocol. You do need to go and try things out. You need to iterate, and in which case that original white paper is going to change, and I think they've done a good job of Ethereum with updating the yellow paper and making sure that it is always up to date. So there's actually just a copy on the internet you can go to. But at that point, it's like, well, it's documentation now. At this point, it's being updated. It's less this kind of PDF that's been distributed in academic circles. But I think we culturally, I think that's what people liked in the past was the idea of a white paper, the idea of this big idea. And I think that's still relevant because you still need to present the big idea, whatever the central kind of conceit is. But the reality is the implementation may change unless you do huge multi-year engineering cycles like Uniswap and release it all in one go as they've done. But not everybody can operate that way. So I think there's many different approaches. So for us, it's more like live docs, which still need to be updated. I'll be honest, we haven't updated them in a while.
Yeah, right now we are in the middle of having a huge revamp on the documentation as we are transitioning to W2 and staking and proof of stake is being activated. We had a number of, let's say, forward-looking parts already in place. Let's say in staking is becoming a possibility. You will be able to do this and that, and now we need to update the website. We need to update the documentation and so on with actual tutorials, with actual walkthroughs on how to complete all of that. So that's actually taking quite a share of our time these days. I think the other questions are rather specific to WIT and to running with Witnet nodes. So I think we can let you go, not without mentioning that I can see Tiark in the chat. Yeah, he's from the PoolTogether community, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. He's one of the OGs, and he's also one of our leaders. And so great to have you here, Jark. Glad you're watching the channel. I can't actually see the viewers, so it's good to know. Thanks for calling that out.
So thanks a lot, Brendan. It's been a pleasure, and I'm as I said before, really looking forward to continue collaborating and building great stuff together.
Likewise. Yeah, absolutely. Likewise. And thanks for having me on. It was great chatting with you.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Okay. Yeah, that was great. And now we have, if the demo gods allow, we will have demo time. Yeah, let's try. Let me set it up. This time it will be my friend Marcus doing the demo. So yeah, I need to connect with him on Discord right now. Yeah, working on it. I will leave the QR code there for the questions in case you want to place more questions there, and all the others that have been posted on YouTube will be addressed at the end as well. So yeah, I can see questions, comments. Perfect. Yeah, we will bring those up later after the demo. So I think we are ready for the demo. Yeah. Opa. Yeah, Marcus, are you here with me?
Yeah, can everyone hear me?
Yeah, I think so. Perfect. I think we're ready.
Nice. Can you see my screen? Or I'm just sharing the wallet.
It's loading. Yeah, there we go.
Okay, so can I start? You can see my screen?
Yes, let me just resize a bit so that we can see better. Yeah. Yeah, that should do it.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, thanks. So this is the demo of staking some WIT into a validator transaction, or a stake transaction. So let me just log in real quick. This is a wallet we set up for the demo just a little bit ago. We can see like a regular VTT, who it was from and who it is to. And we can see that we did a stake just a little bit ago to test everything for this demo. And when we click on that stake, we can see the transaction ID. We can view it on the block explorer, just like the other VTTs. Here we outline the validator and the withdrawer. So you can see the identicon for the withdrawer, because this is the withdrawer wallet, the address that is part of this wallet. How much we staked, the fees that we paid, and the total for the transaction. And then if we look at the balance here, this is the available balance. And we can see how much is available, how much I can spend. We have a locked balance. This is like a time lock. So if any of your funds are time locked, that would show up here. Staked, we can see that we have that 10,000 staked. So the stake total, your total stake plus your available balance is how we get the total down here. So in the future, on the 21st here, you should be able to send an unstake and reclaim that balance. But that's the total balance, so it shows the total stake plus the available balance. And let me go ahead, and the new addition here is that we have this kind of like little growth leaf. And from here, we can do a stake or unstake transaction. So we're going to do a stake. And from here, we can see that the wallet, we have the withdrawal address. So if you wanted to copy this address, you could copy it to your clipboard and share it with your validator, or copy and paste it into the node that you're running to generate the authorization. And let me get that authorization real quick. Just a second. And then when you have an authorization, you can paste it in here. Or if you're running it on your phone, you would have an option to scan like a QR code. Because the CLI, when you generate a node authorization from Witnet REST, also outputs a QR code. So if you don't want to copy and paste that, I could make that a little bit easier. And then here we can see my available balance, how much I can stake, like 11.9. The minimum is 10,000. So we'll just go with that. And sure, we'll go with the medium fee. And network's been a little bit busy, so this is kind of like the priority fee. And then I'm going to sign and send. And then we can see the transaction was successfully sent. And I can copy this and view it on the Explorer. And if I'll resize it, or I could just share the link, or maybe we could resize my screen a bit. Let's see. But yeah, you should be able to pull that up on the Explorer. And I think that's roughly the same size. I could scale that a bit, but yeah, the Explorer is also getting an update, but we can see that I sent that stake transaction, and we can see that hash for that. But yeah, that's the demo. Stake transactions are available coming up here. We're going to wait until after the 2.0 activation, primarily because we want to also support unstaked transactions. and supporting unstaked transactions is not possible till after the activation. So we should have a release of this probably next week, is what we're thinking.
Yeah, because you made this transaction on the mainnet, right?
Yes, this is on the mainnet, and let me see. I could post the transaction hash.
And it should already show up on the staking.witnet.io website.
Yeah. I just shared the hash there.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, so people can see that's a live transaction on the mainnet sent by the wallet.
Awesome, thank you so much, Marcus, for the demo. This is super cool because it's super convenient, as any validator will be able to monitor their stake and to add a stake and remove a stake from the palm of their hand, from their smartphone or whatever. Through MyWit Wallet. It's a very nice integration that we are trying to refine, and it's just a first step towards making staking more accessible to the broader community. Of course, the first, as I mentioned, it's only a first step. The ultimate goal is to have the delegate the staking coming in a very short time, which is going to be the main dish here. But this is very cool because in the interim it gives us a lot of convenience. Yeah. I cannot hear you.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. And providing that accessibility of people to stake from MyWit Wallet in the future, like that, in the delegated stake, that opens up a lot of possibilities. And I think we're also looking at adding support into Sheikah for that, like the other wallet. And big fix also, or like a big upcoming thing that I'd like to mention is the like the Witnet toolkit upgrades that we have.
Yeah. That I think in the coming live streams or in the community calls and so on, I think it's going to be one big point. It's super cool stuff that we've been working on. Shout out to Guillermo who is leading the effort, and it's going to really improve the user experience and also the possible integrations that we can build so that any developer can create their own wallet software, so that they can create any kind of software interacting with that network. That's going to be amazing. Yeah, you can think of it like a little bit like a MetaMask for Witnet.
Yeah, exactly. If there were any other questions on the demo, I'd be happy to answer them. If not, maybe I'll let you continue the live stream here.
On the questions right now on Slido, remember you can join at slido.com and you can enter the room code 3633602. Should have changed that. That's a little long. So we have the question: 26 days to sync a node shouldn't be normal. Is there any way to make the process faster? It's actually not normal. Yeah, normally when you synchronize a node from scratch, it shouldn't take more than 2 or maybe 3 days. It really depends on your system, on the kind of VPS or server that you are using. That synchronization time, it's very strange, and I think it's something that we should look at more in detail. These days, also something that we are seeing more and more is people synchronizing from a snapshot. Synchronizing from a snapshot doesn't take more than half an hour, 1 hour, depending on your computer and so on. The only trade-off there is that it takes a lot of memory. So we are actually, because we are seeing this functionality, this feature of synchronizing from a snapshot that you can download from a public server or through BitTorrent, eventually, whatever, like you do with other blockchains. We are seeing that being used more and more. So we can now devote, it's worth to devote more time to optimizing that process. So both the pure synchronization from scratch and also the synchronization from a snapshot, which with very little changes, I think we can make work on environments with a more limited memory, because right now it really struggles to load the snapshot when you have like 8 gigabytes of RAM, and the recommendation is to have 16, if not 32. So that's something that we have in the backlog. That's something that we are actively looking at, because, as I mentioned, with very little changes, that should be possible to actually synchronize from snapshots on any VPS. Yeah, and then yeah, it's great because you can get your nodes synchronized from scratch in as I mentioned, in around 1 hour or so. Just what it takes for the software to deserialize the blocks from the snapshot and load that into its own memory and reconstruct all the different data structures that go into the change state. When will the MyWit update be released? Oh, yeah, that's one that Marcus, if you want to address.
Yeah, of course. We could answer that, or we could release next week. The activation is here on Friday. There is one more thing, or a couple more things that we need provided from the Explorer, and Dr. CPU is working on that, and we should be able to get that updated. But also, yeah, so probably sometime next week.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. That's a thing that we all need to understand, that in order to make things easier for everyone and not to overcomplicate things, we're just delaying the release of the MyWit Wallet version that will be fully compatible with staking and unstaking until the point in which staking and unstaking will become available for the whole network, and that's on Friday. So yeah, we will see that release happen as soon as that's a possibility. Okay. There are no more questions on Slido, but I can still see some more on YouTube, so let's quickly go over those. There's the suggestion from CryptoDigger to invest more money in marketing and list better exchanges. Yeah, that's, you know, that we are making an effort to improve our marketing side. We have now a person that is fully devoted to this, and yep, I think she's doing a great job so far, and there are many things that are in the marketing plan for the coming months. Right now we are structuring all of that. There are multiple initiatives, there are multiple actions that we want to try, that we want to take, and yeah, it's something that it's happening. Yeah, we are devoting more resources and more time and more attention to this side, because we are entering a go-to-market phase, second go-to-market phase for Wit, as we have now much more to ship, much more to sell, much more to communicate. That's why you will also see us more in events this year. Like next week, I will be in Warsaw in a blockchain event that they are holding there. We will be there. We will be in FCC. We will be in Dubai. We will be in Miami. We will be in many different places. We will be announcing all of this, and we are actually, I think we can bet that we are actually preparing a section inside the website where you will be able to see our public agenda, where you will see all the events that we will be attending and what will be our engagement there, so that we can meet there, we can have some beers together or whatever. Yeah, that's going to be nice. Then next in line we have Greenlight Crypto asking when Coinbase, how can US investors buy the token to support the project? I think right now US investors, their preferred venue is Bitmart, right, Marcus? I think Bitmart is available on the US as far as I can tell.
Yeah, it's the only exchange I could trade on. I used to be able to trade on MXC and Gate, but they changed their policies, and I'm no longer able to trade there. The only available platform right now is Bitmart, or maybe one of the swappers like Let's Exchange or Changely or something like that.
Yep. Now, of course, on Bitmart, there's quite a challenge, which is the liquidity, which is something that it's always a challenge and always an issue across the board. But with Bitmart, the volumes are ridiculous, and I understand that there are some people that they may want to enter with a bigger position, and that the market conditions right now are not prepared for that. That's something that we are actively looking into, and something that we are trying to fix with the help of our market maker. And yeah, things are getting better on that side. Bitmart is a bit more complicated from the market making side, because I don't want to talk shit about their API, but it's not that excellent, and it's that, yeah, we are still working to make that a possibility and to improve the liquidity situation there. And Sharik Saich is asking whether there are any updates regarding further listings. It's something that we are always looking at. It's never completely on our side. And what we are actually doing on our side is to over the last year we have been working with the exchanges where WIT is listed to understand how we can facilitate and how we can improve how we can make it easier for them to integrate that, because you know that Witnet, the Witnet chain is a layer 1 chain that is built from scratch, and it's not EVM compliant. It has its own API because it's a very particular system that serves a very particular purpose, which is being an Oracle chain. So there's an integration effort. When an exchange wants to integrate with WIT, if they want to support WIT sending and receiving with deposits or staking and so on, they actually need to understand how the system works, what are the APIs and so on. They need to develop the integration. So we want to help them as much as possible for that to be very, very, very easy. And that's why we started working this new toolkit, these new libraries on JavaScript, so that they can integrate more easily, and so that they can do what they need to do more easily, because right now they rely on some parts of our stack that were not thought for the exchange use case, and they for example, they sometimes have the requirement of being able to sign transactions off-chain, and that's something that is not directly possible either with the node software or the wallet software, but that's going to be possible with a new toolkit. It's already working, and it's as soon as the toolkit is published, we expect exchanges to be one of the first users of that, because it's designed specifically to their needs, and that should make things easier. Then on the side of the once you have shipped all the documentation, all the tooling and everything, it's up to the exchanges to decide whether they want to list or not, and whether they will be having a proposal for us that makes sense to list there. Yeah, because there are some exchanges that might be asking for crazy amounts of money that don't make any sense, or for guarantee deposits that exceed the millions. And the other question that we had there was about the white paper, and we already addressed that. Yeah, that's something that we would really love to upgrade. Right now, our focus on upgrading things that are outdated is the documentation, and also the batch of Witnet improvement proposals that made it to WIT 2. And you will also see further Witnet improvement proposals covering the upgrades that all the improvements that we are introducing with 2.1 and beyond. Yeah. And no more questions on the Slido, no more questions on the chat. So I think we are done for today. Thank you everyone for attending. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your interest in the Witnet protocol. Thanks for your support, for helping us build a safer and more powerful future for Web3. We are very, very excited about the future of Witnet, and we are working every day to make this ecosystem bigger, and to make this to position Witnet as the go-to Oracle solution on the more than 50 chains that we are integrated with. So thank you everyone. Have a lovely St. Patrick's night.